If you want to climb more efficiently, conserve energy, and build confidence standing on tiny footholds, then what you need to do is master your footwork. In this video, we'll share 5 essential footwork tips and drills for you to practice. As you begin your climbing adventure, you'll find that you can fit at least an entire foot onto a hold, potentially even 2. But then as you progress through the grades, maybe just the tip of your shoe. So the key to climbing isn't just grabbing onto small holds, it's figuring out how to make the most of those small feet. There's a lot of real estate on the bottom of your shoe. We have the heel, we have the midsole, we have the toe box. When I'm climbing, I'm really intentional about placing the toe box onto a hold. When I do that, I can pivot my foot in either direction without my foot falling off. If I were to use, say, the middle of my foot, the midsole, and I try to turn my foot, I'm coming off the hold, and I'll find myself on the ground. Now that you know the principle, let's drill it. Whenever I get on a climb, I'm gonna focus on perfect foot placement, making sure that I'm using the front of my toe box and weighting my foot through that part so I can pivot my foot as needed. Every placement is precise and direct, allowing for optimal movement. Take your time, place your feet well. Building off of tip 1, we know what part of our foot we want to use, but do we have the precision and focus to properly utilize it? Whenever I place my foot, I ensure that I'm looking down at the foothold and placing my foot precisely where I want it on the foothold in order to optimally use it in my climbing. In order to drill this concept, I'm going to consciously look at each foot placement for at least 2 seconds. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's really easy for me to get excited about the next handhold and lose focus of my foot and poorly place it as a result. That's why I like to really take time, focus, and attention to ensure that I have that perfect toe placement for the perfect reach to the next hold. Tip number 3 is to squish the bug. Oftentimes I see new climbers stepping gingerly on footholds, but what we direct them to do is instead press with the full force of their toe into that hold as if they were trying to squish a bug. Stepping gingerly on a hold doesn't create enough friction for my feet to actually adhere to it. What I need to do is create tension by squishing the bug on the hold and utilizing the rest of my core and body all the way through to my fingertips to drive through those feet and maintain contact with the wall. Squish. Tip number 4 is for overhanging walls, where it's not enough just to press down on these footholds trying to squish the bug. We need to ask more of our body and more of our footwork here. So what we're gonna try to do is place our toe so that we can hook in to these holds and generate force that pulls us in towards the wall. When I'm climbing in this overhanging terrain, if I just place my foot on top of the hold, it's difficult for me to pull my lower body in towards the wall. However, if I really place that toe in, I'm able to draw myself in closer with it and utilize the full pulling power of my lower body. Pro tip, the steeper the climbing, the more you're gonna wanna really toe in and hook with the front of your foot. As soon as I stop engaging, my foot's gonna pop. Many climbers fear standing on slopey feet and volumes, but with our next tip, dropping your heel to fully engage the rubber and increase friction, you'll be much more comfortable on them. Typically when I'm placing my foot, I wanna get really nice and up on that tip of my foot. However, what that does in this circumstance is limit the amount of rubber and thus the amount of friction that I have on this volume. Now that I've dropped my heel, I can barely wiggle my foot. Dropping your heel allows us to get nice and tight and comfortable, creating lots of friction on this volume. This tip is particularly useful on slab and volume heavy routes. If you want to practice it, go find a slopey foot. Place your toe and drop your heel to get a lot of friction out of it. You can always find a slopier foot to work on, a shallower foot, and really drop that heel. The lower the heel drops, the more friction I can get out of my rubber. You aren't going to become the climber you want to be overnight. It takes practice, patience, effort, and focus to improve and eventually master your footwork. Try and utilize these 5 tips the next time you're at the gym. A great time to work on these tips and really master your footwork is during your warm-up, when you have a little bit more bandwidth to really focus on just your feet. If you get any use out of these tips, or if you have any other thoughts on footwork or things that we could cover next, go ahead and leave us a comment.